Kale Voss had ruled the Ashford pack for 11 years, and in all that time, he had never once doubted himself. He was the Alpha King, tall, strong, and calm in every storm. Other packs feared him. His own pack loved him. He had led them through wars, through hard winters, and through the darkest year of his life, when his wife had died giving birth to their son. That son, Milo, was now 5 years old. He had soft brown hair and a wide, easy smile. Kale had raised him alone, through sleepless nights, through fevers, through the long, lonely months of learning how to be both mother and father at once. He never once questioned why Milo's eyes were a stormy gray instead of his own deep amber. Wolves came in strange colors, he always told himself. It never crossed his mind to think anything more of it. On an ordinary afternoon, Kale stood at the edge of the training grounds, watching his warriors spar. The autumn sun was warm on his shoulders, and for once, his mind was quiet. Pack matters were settled. Trade with the Northern Territory was going well. Life, for the first time in years, felt steady. Then he heard it. A small voice, high and happy, came from the courtyard behind him. "Daddy, catch me." Kale turned, expecting to see nothing unusual. Children called many men uncle in the pack, but what he saw made the practice sword slip from his hand and clatter against the stone. Milo was running, arms wide, laughing with pure joy, straight toward Beta Ren Calloway. And Ren was crouching down, arms open, catching the boy and swinging him high into the air like it was the most natural thing in the world. Not Uncle Ren, not Beta Ren. Daddy. Kale stood frozen, his chest tight, his breath caught somewhere between his throat and his heart. He watched Ren lift Milo onto his shoulders, with an ease that spoke of long practice. Not once, not twice, 100 times, maybe more. This was not new. This was routine. The training ground around him blurred. Warriors kept sparring. Wind kept moving through the trees, but Kale's whole world had tilted sideways, and he could not find his footing. He did not confront Ren there, in front of the pack. A king did not lose control in public, no matter how much the ground shook beneath him. Instead, he walked back to his study with slow, careful steps, each one heavier than the last, and waited for the sun to set. That evening, he summoned Ren. When the beta arrived, Kale bolted the door behind him. It was not for privacy. It was because he did not trust what his hands might do if the truth unfolded too quickly, too openly, in front of others. "How long," Kale said, his voice flat and quiet, "have you been my son's father?" Ren did not flinch. He did not pretend confusion, and in that stillness, in that terrible silence, Kale understood the answer, before a single word was spoken. "Since before he was born," Ren said softly. "Ivy came to me, the year you were away fighting the border wars. You were gone 8 months, Kale. 8 months, and you barely sent word." The room seemed to spin. Kale gripped the edge of his desk, trying to hold himself steady. His title, his victories, his years of iron discipline, none of it mattered now against this one, devastating truth. The boy he had raised, the heir he had trained to one day take the crown, was not his blood at all. "She never told me," Kale said, his voice breaking slightly despite his effort to hold it firm. "She meant to," Ren said. "She just never got the chance." Kale's jaw tightened. Anger rose in him, hot and sharp, the kind of anger that made a wolf's claws itch beneath the skin. He wanted to banish Ren from the packlands. He wanted to erase this humiliation, this quiet betrayal that had lived under his own roof for 5 years, while he suspected nothing. "You should have told me," Kale said, his voice rising now. "You let me raise him thinking he was mine. You let the whole pack believe." "He is yours," Ren interrupted, his voice steady but full of feeling. "In every way that matters, Kale, he is yours. I stayed away. I never tried to take him from you. I only came close when duty called me near, and even then, I kept my distance as much as I could bear. But he found me anyway. Children always find warmth, Kale. They don't need blood to know who loves them. Then why does he call you Daddy?" Kale's voice cracked on the last word, and for a moment, he sounded less like a king and more like a man whose whole world had been quietly stolen from him. Ren was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, His voice was gentler. Because I have loved that boy since the day he was born. I watched him from a distance for 5 years because I respected you too much to take him from you, Kale. I told myself I would never say a word, never let him know, never do anything to threaten what you built with him. But children see truth before adults do. He started calling me that on his own, months ago. I did not teach him the word. He gave it to me. Kale turned away, walking to the window that overlooked the garden below. There, in the fading light, he could see Milo playing near the fountain, chasing fireflies with a stick, laughing at nothing in particular, the way only small children can. The boy was not a lie. He was simply a child who had, in his own innocent way, loved the man who showed up for him. Kale's throat tightened. He thought of every sleepless night he had spent walking the halls with Milo when he had a fever, every scraped knee he had bandaged himself, refusing to let a healer near his own son. Every bedtime story, every lesson in swordplay, every quiet moment where Milo had looked up at him with complete trust. None of that had come from blood. All of it had come from him, from choice, from years of showing up when it would have been easier not to. I raised him, Kale said quietly, more to himself than to Ren. Every scraped knee, every fever, every nightmare. That was me. I know, Ren said. That is why I never tried to take him from you. That is why I never told you the truth, even when it ate at me every single day. You gave him a life, Kale. A good one. I only gave him a name he chose for himself, without knowing what it meant. Kale turned back to face him, and for the first time since he had heard that small voice call out "Daddy" across the courtyard, something in his chest loosened, just slightly. Not forgiveness, not yet, but something close to understanding. Does he know the truth? Kale asked. Does he know what you are to him? In blood? No, Ren said. He only knows what his heart already told him. He does not understand titles or blood or pack law. He only understands who makes him feel safe. For a long moment, neither man spoke. Outside, the sound of Milo's laughter drifted up through the open window, bright and untroubled, completely unaware of the storm that had just passed through his father's heart. Kale sat down slowly in his chair, the weight of his crown suddenly feeling heavier than it ever had in 11 years of rule. He thought of banishing Ren. He thought of forbidding him from ever seeing Milo again, of erasing this whole painful chapter from the pack's memory. It would have been easy. He was the Alpha King. No one would question his right to do it. But when he looked again at the small boy playing below, laughing without a single care in the world, he knew that punishing Ren would only punish Milo in the end. And Milo had done nothing wrong. Milo had simply loved two men, in two different ways, without knowing the tangled history between them. I could send you away, Kale said finally, his voice quiet but steady. I could strip you of your title and your place in this pack. No one would question it. I know, Ren said. He did not argue. He did not beg. He simply stood there, waiting, as if he had long ago accepted whatever punishment might come. But I won't, Kale said. Not because I forgive you. Not yet. Maybe not for a long time. But because that boy down there loves you, and I refuse to be the reason his heart breaks for something he never chose, and could never understand. Ren's shoulders eased slightly, though his eyes remained heavy with guilt. Thank you, he said quietly. Don't thank me, Kale said. This isn't mercy. This is what's right for him. There's a difference. In the days that followed, word did not spread quickly through the pack, for neither man spoke of what had passed between them that night. But something had shifted, quietly, beneath the surface of the Ashford pack's daily life. Kale watched Milo more closely now, noticing the small moments he had once overlooked. The way the boy's eyes lit up when Ren walked into a room. The easy comfort between them that Kale himself had never quite managed to build, weighed down as he always was by the responsibilities of leadership. It would have been simple to feel jealous of that ease. For a while, Kale did. He lay awake some nights, turning the truth over and over in his mind, feeling the ache of a father who suddenly did not know what fatherhood meant anymore. But slowly, something else began to grow in place of that ache. He began to see that love was not a competition. Milo did not love Ren less because he loved Kale, and he did not love Kale less because his heart had space for Ren too. Children, Kale realized, did not divide their hearts the way adults did. They simply loved, fully and freely, wherever love was given to them. 3 weeks after that terrible night in his study, Kale called both Ren and Milo to the garden where the boy loved to play. He knelt down to Milo's level, something he rarely did in front of others, setting aside the weight of his crown for just a moment. "Milo," he said gently, "I want to talk to you about something important." Milo tilted his head, curious but unafraid, the way only a child who has never known real fear can be. "Am I in trouble?" "No," Kale said, managing a small, genuine smile. "Not at all. I just want you to know something. You have two people in your life who love you very much. Me and Ren. And that is a good thing, Milo. That is a very good thing." Milo looked between the two men, his small face thoughtful in the way children sometimes are when they sense something important is happening, even if they don't fully understand it. "I love you both," he said simply, as if it were the easiest truth in the world. "Is that okay?" Kale felt something crack open in his chest, not with pain this time, but with a strange, unexpected relief. "Yes," he said, his voice thick. "That is more than okay." He did not tell Milo the truth about blood that day. He decided, together with Ren, that such a conversation would come later, when the boy was old enough to understand it without confusion or fear. For now, it was enough that Milo knew he was loved, fully and without condition, by two men who had once stood as rivals, and now, slowly, were learning to stand as something else. Kale did not become close friends with Ren overnight. Trust, once broken, does not mend in a single conversation or a single garden afternoon. There were still quiet moments of tension between them, still nights when Kale's pride ached at the memory of what he had lost and what had been kept from him. But he no longer let that pain control his choices. He no longer let his crown decide what his heart could hold. The pack, in time, came to understand a version of the truth, though never the full, painful details. They saw only that their alpha king had grown, in some quiet way, softer and wiser than before. They saw a boy who ran freely between two men who both called him son in their own way, and they saw an alpha strong enough to allow that, even though it would have been easier, in the old ways of pride and blood, to forbid it entirely. Years later, when Milo was old enough to understand, Kale sat him down and told him everything. He told him about Ren, about Ivy, about the truth of his birth. He watched his son's face carefully, bracing himself for anger, for confusion, for the kind of pain that truth sometimes brings. But Milo only nodded slowly, taking it in with the quiet grace he had grown into over the years. "You're still my father," he said finally. "Both of you are. That hasn't changed." And Kale, the Alpha King who had once believed that pride and blood were the only things that mattered, finally understood that the truest kind of family was not always written in blood at all. Sometimes, it was written in the years of showing up, night after night, scraped knee after scraped knee, until love became something far stronger than any bloodline could ever be.